Okay, good morning and welcome to Yeshiva YouTube. Iyun with Benzion. Today's daf is Nedarim daf pay test number 89. I want to discuss today the end of the Mishnah on pay 10 and Beis on the top, where the Mishnah records a dissenting view, I think. Rabbi Yehuda seemingly disagrees with the Rabbanan. The Rabbanan say there's three types of women who don't have a recourse to a Faras Nedarim. Either she's a Bulgaris, right? She's not married yet, or her father dies, even if she's a Nara, her father dies. Or if she's married, even as a Nara, and then she gets divorced or widowed as a Nara, so she left her father's house and she's no longer in her husband's house. In all three of those cases, there's no recourse of Faras Nedarim. She has to go Hataras Nedarim, Mata the Nether. Rabbi Yehuda says, Afa Mesi Bita Aktana B'Nesalmas Garsha V'Chazer Etzla Adayin Hinara. Rita adds it. There's another case where it can't be mefer. For example, let's say he marries her as a Ktana. Now, a father has a different relationship with the daughter as a Ktana and a Nara. A Nara, she's bat mitzvah. Ktana before she's bat mitzvah. As a Ktana, he could actually sell her to somebody else. Mekadesh, his daughter, give her as an Ama Ivri, a slave, a Jewish maidservant to somebody, or marry her off to somebody. As a Nara, he doesn't have that right. Now, as a Nara, he is Makaba the Kiddushin. He does own the money for the Kiddushin, but he has no right to marry her off to anyone he wants. She has to agree to it. She doesn't have to agree to it. And there's another difference, is that the Maisei Adayani wages that a minor girl earns belong to her father, and Nara belongs to herself. So there's differences in a Nara and a Ketana. The reason is because he's supporting his daughter until she's a Nara. He has to feed her, presumably, right? Normally, the custom is to feed her. So because he gives her Mazonos, therefore he gets her Maisei Adayim. So the Gemara talks about it in the beginning of Masechus Kedushin. So Rabbi Yehuda says also, if she's a Ketana and she got married her at 6 years old, she got widowed, divorced at 7 years old, right? Even though the Mishnah says Chazer Etzel Adayin Hinara, it sounds like right she got widowed or divorced that she's a Nara. No, the Ran says really it's just talking about she got widowed or divorced earlier, but now she's a Nara and she took a nether because there's no significance to the nether of a Ketana. So even in that case, she got divorced or widowed. Rabbi Yehuda says she left the rishus of her father, and she can no longer return to the rishus of her father. She was married to someone else. She can't return to her father to rishus, and therefore the father can't be made for Nedarim. She has to be mater Nedarim. The Gemara says, Amar Rabbi Yehuda, Amar Rav Zudi Rabbi Yehuda, meaning the first three cases mentioned, really 9 cases mentioned in the Mishnah. It was basically 3 different rules, 3 different cases, and those are what the Chachamim say. Those are the only times that she can't be made. There's no Faras Nedarim. She can only be mater Neder. Now, it sounds like from the Gemara, there's a machlokas, Rabbi Yehuda and the Chachamim. I mean, the Chachamim would have disagreed in the last case of Rabbi Yehuda. What's the case of Rabbi Yehuda? Where she's a Ketana, and then she got widowed or divorced as a Ketana, and now she's a Nara. Does she go back to her father's house or not? According to Rabbi Yehuda, no. According to the Rabbanan, yes. However, it's a problem because the Art Scroll, I didn't look at all the Mefarshim in the Gemara. I don't look at the Hebrew, the Rashi, and the Ran, all the Mefarshim. I do look at the Art Scroll. And the article says very clearly that, according to everybody, seemingly, that Rabbi Yehuda is not arguing on the Rabbanan. He's agreeing with the Rabbanan. Now, it's very hard to understand because the Gemara says, Zu divrei Rabbi Yehuda, aval chacham omrim. When you say Zu divrei Rabbi Yehuda, aval chacham omrim, it sounds like there's an argument. Right? So why are you saying the same thing? Now, I think there's a lot of grounds to make sense for what the Chachamim say. We pass in the Chachamim that when she's a Ketana, she gets divorced or widowed as a Ketana, she goes back to her father's house. Why is that? It's different than if she's a Nara. She's 12 years old and she gets widowed or divorced as a Nara. She does not go back to her father's house. Because a Nara is different than a Ketana. Meaning the father, he owns the Ketana. We discussed yesterday what the relationship between a husband owning his wife. Well, father also owns his daughter in a certain respect. Obviously he doesn't own the body of his daughter, but he doesn't own the monetary value of his daughter. And therefore he can take the money and sell her off, right, against her will, without her discretion, without her agreeing to. So he has the control over her monetary assets. Therefore, if she earns wages, it belongs to him. A Nara, not so much. So the Chachamim say, and this is what I believe the Allah, the Chachamim say, she got married as a Ketana, right? And she got widowed or divorced as a Ketana. She goes back to her father's as a Ketana. Her father's still supporting her, right? He has the Chayiv Mizonos, right? So therefore, he gets her Maisei Adayim. Monetarily, she goes back into the Rishus. So Hafaras Nedarim is really a product of monetary. It's both Isser and Mammon, right? There's an Isser of a Nether, plus Yesh Mila Bakonam, so Nedarim have value to it, right? Nether usually you answer the value of the property, Isser on the Chefsa. So therefore the Rabbanan say, monetarily she's going back to the father's Rishus. He can be made for a Nedarim again. And Rabbi Yehuda argues. Why does Rabbi Yehuda argue? Because Rabbi Yehuda learns that maybe the Iker, and he argues on Rabbi Meir, come usually Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Meir says, Yesh be Lebakonamos. Rabbi Yehuda says, yeah, ain't me Lebakonamos. Rabbi Yehuda says, name Lebakonamos, Nedarim, Afar Nedarim is really just Isser V'Heter. So in terms of Isser V'Heter, right, she was married. And now she's not married anymore. So in terms of, right, in terms of Isser V'Heter, right, she, in terms of Dinei Mamanis, a daughter who's been married as a Ketana and now divorced, so she still, the father still owns her Maaseh Yadayim. He only has monetary rights to her. But in terms of the Isser V'Heter, it's weakened, right? Technically, I think the halacha is, even if she gets divorced or widowed as a Ketana, he can remarry her. However, there is a weakening. The fact that she went into her own rishus, or her own marriage, right? Which is a marriage is a new state, halakhic state, where she's allowed to be together with her husband, is sort of a heter. So therefore, maybe she can never go back, according to Rabbi Yehuda, into her father's rishus, and therefore, according to Rabbi Yehuda, the ikar by Havaras Nedarim is sort of a heter, not dinei mamanis, and therefore she can never go back. According to Rabbanan, she could go back, and they really would argue on Rabbi Yehuda. That's what I believe. Hope you enjoyed today's share. See you in the next one.